Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Lotzar, happy to be your host and joined by my colleague, Vern Schellinger. Alki Thompson will not be able to make it today, so we will look forward to seeing him again next time. And I think several new people, which
Yes.
is great. We love to see new faces. We are happy to help. So the way this works is that Vern and I will be answering any job search questions that you have across the board. We will do our very best to support you. By way of introduction, quickly, I'm a career coach and a recruiter. Vern is a former HR executive and a career coach and specializes in networking, which is the name of his company, Context Count. And so we have a sort of pretty wide range of perspectives here, and we sort of sit on both sides of the hiring aisle, and hopefully can give you some really good advice and support. So with that, who would like to kick us off with a question? It could be anything on your job search, from your resume and LinkedIn, networking, salary, dealing with recruiters, all the things. So we are happy to support you. So who'd like to kick us off? And you're welcome to just jump in.
I'm happy to start if nobody else is. Hi, my name is Karen Costello. I was actually here in the last session for the first time, but I missed you, but I met Alki.
Yeah.
Um, I am struggling. I'm being able to reach out to people on LinkedIn and maybe have a chat, someone within a company that I'm interested in, but then I feel I need more skills to take it from there.
Mm.
Like to have that little meeting and how do I, you don't want to come across like I want a job in your company. So that's where I'm noticing that's where I need a bit more work. And I was at my previous role for 16 years. So I haven't been out in the market for a very long time.
Yeah. If you could maybe say one more piece about that, when you say that you're struggling, what part of that are you struggling with?
I am not sure what questions to ask that
Oh,
don't
that's fine.
seem like I need something from you. Or
I
how
see.
can you help me? Which I don't want to do that, but I'm also not sure ultimately that's what I want. So I'm not sure how to, or
Okay.
maybe I
Thank
just
you.
need to
Thank
completely
you.
change my mindset and say, I don't want that. I just want a connection. And maybe
I
that's what I
see.
need.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that, Karen. That's great. So let me share some insight and then I'll turn it over to Vern. So
Mhm.
actually it's a very important question you asked because it actually is about mindset and mind shift. All right. So whether you know it or not, in your job search, you're actually not looking for a job. What do you mean? What? You're not asking people for a job. You are trying to show people how you can solve their problems.
Mhm.
Very different mindset. And I'll just make it personal for me and for Vern, because we're both in business for ourselves. When we are speaking with anybody, okay, who's a potential prospect to work with us, right? Somebody who might need us. We're not saying, please pay me some money.
Mhm.
No. We're saying, what are your needs? What are your challenges? And can we be a good support to you? Right? Are we the people to solve your problems? And so we have a conversation and we ask people, hey, what's going on with you? Right? What are your challenges in whatever work we do?
Mhm.
And they start sharing. And we're like, oh, well, maybe or maybe not. I mean, we might not be the right person, right? But we might be the right person for them. So, Karen, when you are having a conversation with somebody or anybody here, we're having a networking conversation. Your job is to understand what are the business challenges keeping that organization up at night as it relates to what you do. I'm not asking about all their challenges, but as it relates to, may I ask just very quickly, what is your profession?
Project manager.
Fine. So you're talking to someone, in a PM world, right? And you're asking them questions about what are the PM challenges keeping them up and to kind of understand, right, what the pain points are and where you could provide a solution. The other way to frame that is, which is a little bit less effective, but also is to start sharing about the superpowers that you have and the kinds of problems you are uniquely positioned to help people solve, and to say, hey, so and so, could your organization benefit from my skill set? Could you benefit from the superpowers that I bring to the table, right? So yesterday I was working with someone, it's a person who comes to this call regularly, who happens to be in a legal sort of, area. And so I happen to have somebody in my world who is in that space. And so yesterday we worked on crafting a little note for me to send to this person to say, hey, this person has a unique skill set or subject matter expertise. Hey, person at organization, could you find this of benefit to help you advance your goals? Does that make sense? It's
Mm-hmm.
all about flipping the model and being benefit to them. Vern talks about, and I'll give the mic over to him for a second. Vern talks about this idea when you're networking of what he calls teaching and giving, right? You're teaching the person about yourself and you're giving them something of value. It is all about having an others oriented mindset. It's not about you. It's about you helping them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The whole
And
flip.
it's completely opposite than, yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. It's a
Thank
very
you.
flipped mindset. You're not putting your hand out for a job. And no one on this call is putting their hand out for a job. You are there to solve somebody's problems. In fact, Karen, that's why they're hiring you.
Right.
They're not hiring to put money in your bank account, although hopefully that will happen. But they're hiring you because they have a need. Vern and I have both been on the other side of the hiring aisle. Vern is an HR person and me as a recruiter. We work with the hiring managers, and the hiring manager says, I've got a business need. I need
Yep.
a person to fill it, so to speak, 40 hours a week, right? I have that much of a need that I'm willing to go out to the market and find somebody. That's the other side of the equation. You are filling their need. And yes, for good work that you do, you will hopefully get paid money to do that. But it's about their business need. Now, yes, you have your needs too. Obviously, you want work-life balance, you want a good salary, you want a good culture, all those things, geography, right? All of that. And absolutely, you are the other side of the equation. We always talk about that. So your needs are very, very important. However, when you're networking, you make it about them. That makes sense. So,
Thank
Vern,
you.
want to share?
So
Karen,
let me,
what side of the country are you on?
I'm in Maryland. So also
All
I
right, so
stay.
you're competing with everybody that got laid off in the federal government.
And yes, and the people I work for, yes, thank you. And I work for NIH and FDA where both clients and contractors like myself got,
Right.
yeah.
It's
So
no,
there's
it's a
hundreds, thousands. Yes.
crowded market, and standing out
Yeah,
often
it's important.
comes down to who you know, but also what, again, the value that you can provide.
yeah,
Yeah.
That, right?
Thank you.
yeah. So a long
Come on.
time ago, when I was in my first job search, I did not know the first thing about networking, and I struggled and struggled and struggled. And what I found over time, obviously, is that if you're in the job search, the most important thing is the network you've created before you lose your job.
Right.
And so the think about the strength of the relationships that you have. Who are the people in your world that you have the strongest relationships with? And those are the people you should be reaching out to first.
That's right.
Uh, and the strength of the relationship means they already know you pretty well and know your skills and know your pros. Where can they help you, and who can they potentially introduce you to? Because that's a warm introduction. In other words, if I was somebody that you knew really well, and we had a conversation, I could introduce you to Shira because I know Shira very well, and she would be a welcoming, person to have a conversation with, which takes off some of the edge of, oh, I don't know what to say, and
Right.
this is awkward, and so forth and so on. Ultimately, in the job search, you are going to meet a stranger, somebody that you don't know. So this is what Shira was saying about the mindset. When you go into that meeting, you need to be prepared to think about, and this is the mind shift that is so important when we work with people at Contacts Count. Networking is about teaching and giving. And think about the logic. The more I teach Karen about who I am and what I'm all about, the greater likelihood you might help me in some way. And the more I learn about Karen, the greater likelihood I can give back to Karen. Okay.
Yeah.
And the ultimate place to be in terms of having a network is then you're able to tap into, and Shira and I talk about this a lot, the hidden job market. And if you're not familiar with the hidden job market, there are jobs that aren't anywhere on the internet, nowhere. And the only way that you find out about those opportunities is someone in your network says, "Hey, I just got a call from, the VP of HR at ABC company, and they're looking for a new, recruiting manager. And are you interested?" And they didn't post that job anywhere. They just reached out to their network, and people started to feed candidates into them. So again, the relationships you build are just absolutely critical. In terms of, if you are meeting with one of those strangers, be prepared, go look at their LinkedIn profile, see what their accomplishments are, see what they're doing now. Think about the questions you could ask them. And so make it yes, you're going to talk about, the vast majority of people, okay, they know you're in the job search. They're going to try to help you as best they can. And you're going to have lots of conversations, and some are going to go nowhere, and others, all of a sudden, they're introducing you to a potential opportunity. So
I want to just kind of springboard off of that. And Sherry, I do see your hand. So that hidden job market, let me give you a practical example right this minute, right now. So I mentioned I do a couple things. I'm a career coach. I'm also a recruiter. In my recruiter hat, I'm doing a search right now, a VP search. And I went out to LinkedIn. You should know I did not, and I hardly ever, as a recruiter, I hardly ever use the job boards these days. I need you to hear that. I'm not alone in this. The job boards are overwhelming for recruiters. We get hundreds of resumes, could be thousands, right? That are people who are unqualified for these roles. We don't want to be overwhelmed. So we go out to our hidden market. A lot of us use LinkedIn, the search bar of LinkedIn, not the LinkedIn job board, the search bar, and we go find people. So I put in my little search terms, VP finance, whatever, association, found a bunch of people, reached out to them like I always do. "Hi, so-and-so, conducting a search for such and such. Do you know anyone?" A guy named Jeff writes me back. And he says, in so many words, he basically said, "Well, the job's not right for me, but I'm going to forward it to my friend Chris." Chris applies. Now, when Chris applied, I looked at his resume, and his resume wasn't perfect. There was some good stuff there, but it wasn't like this spot on thing. And understand, because I was doing a hidden job search, I wasn't going after all the masses and having hundreds of resumes. I was able to give a little extra time and read his resume. I said, and he was referred by somebody. I said, fine, I'll interview him, right? I could make the time. Karen, Chris is my number one candidate now. Number one. He accessed the hidden job market. You know what he did? He went after somebody, Jeff, who does what he does. Another VP finance. Yeah. Some of your very, very best networking connections are people who do exactly what you do. They are not competitors. They're competitive mates.
Yeah.
These are people who hear about opportunities not right for them, but could be right for you. This is and that's why I've been sharing this story now for the last week or so with job seekers, because it's so powerful. It is so spot on, because it's literally how the hidden job market works. But you don't know unless you let your colleagues know, the people who do what you do. Even if you're like, but we're all competing for the same job, it doesn't matter. There's nuances to jobs. You could actually even be in a search with 5 other people who rare that would happen. But guess what? It's right for one of you and not for another. Not just because of skill fit. It could be culture fit, geography, salary, who knows, whatever, right? There's always a right position. Absolutely talk to your colleagues. You might even pull together people in a networking group. People do that all the time. Literally, you could pull together people who are fellow, PMs in the NIH world or GovCon or whatever, right? And say, hey, let's help each other. And maybe there are opportunities that you all go after. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because again, it could be right for one of you. So that whole hidden network thing is really important. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sherry. And if you continue to, show up here, tell us how it's going. Tell us if you made a breakthrough. Tell us if you've met someone. Tell us if you found a lead. What was it that you did? Do you feel more confident now in having, once you have a good conversation and you use certain questions or certain skills, then you gain competence and you gain confidence, and you have more conversations.
Good. Hope this is helpful for everyone. All right, Sherry, what can we do for you?
Excuse me. I am struggling mightily. So just as a reminder, I am a communications professional, worked many years in the independent school world, actually 15 years at one school. So I am a communications person in the nonprofit mission-driven world. It's really, and I have lots of volunteer experience and professional publication experience in the museum world as well as the independent school world. So that's what I am looking for in a new role, is to be in a nonprofit environment. I am struggling mightily with the networking component, probably for a few reasons, part of which is that lots of people that I'm interested in they're not active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just, I mean, I have a LinkedIn presence, but it's just really not the place where I'm finding people. Lots of people don't respond to requests to connect. Anyway, I'm getting a little too far. That was intended to be some background. What I do hear from people sometimes is, well, why don't you contact like a headhunter? And so a friend said that the other day, and I said, they don't want to be called headhunters. But the real question is, it's great to have someone who's advocating for you and who's working on your behalf. I don't really know or how to find people who are doing that in the sector where I want to work.
So can we have a little conversation about the recruiter
Yes.
thing? Every once in a while, this topic comes up. So I'd like to just kind of set the record about what it is and what it isn't. Okay. So actually, just let me shift the language a little bit. So recruiters are actually not working on your behalf. They're working on behalf of the employer. Okay. Now, what that means is that the business model is that a recruiter, and by the way, some people are okay with the headhunter thing. I'm okay with it. And the reason is it's that the original term of headhunter was hunting heads of companies. So when you see it that way, it's actually fine. And so anyway, but the idea is that a third party recruiter, meaning somebody who works in their own business, right? Or works for an agency, not a corporate recruiter, just to make the distinction, guys. When you see the term recruiter, it could be somebody who works in-house in a company, is paid a regular salary by an employer, and they recruit for Amazon or something. Third party headhunters, what we do is we go after usually a vertical, either a career vertical or an industry vertical. So the industry vertical could be, so for myself, it's associations. I mostly recruit for associations. For somebody else, it might be they recruit just for the commercial real estate industry or for GovCon or for higher education or whatever it is. Some of us have a career vertical. So some people just do accounting and finance people, or they just do IT people, that kind of thing. Understand there's not a headhunter, there's not a recruiting model, a third-party recruiting model for every sector, for every vertical, okay? So there may or may not be one for independent schools, for example, right? As a specific sector. Now there are search firms that are for nonprofit specific, like or not the general nonprofit world, and where they could get different kinds of nonprofit searches, like Professionals for Nonprofits. That's a search firm. There's a group that used to be called Nonprofit HR Solutions. It's now called One Digital. They do nonprofit search, but understand, Sherry, with everyone here, because the headhunter has very, just like every recruiter, frankly, has very specific unicorn requirements for that search. Their job is to go find the unicorn, right? You may or may not be that person just because of the very specific requirements. And so the business model is they're paid by the employer, not by the candidate. Okay. So you want to look at any recruiter that way. Now, with that said, you may want to go find or try to talk to colleagues to see, are there any search firms that are in my specific area? So for example, I happen to know in the higher ed world, there are some firms that they do higher ed search. Like that's what they do. I recently met a firm, all they do is pharmaceutical search. Like there's all these different firms that have these very niche kind of areas. I just don't know about school system. But what you can do is and this is for everybody here. If you're trying to find recruiters who specialize in your vertical, meaning your profession, your industry, ask colleagues, do you know of anyone who typically gets searches in my space? And all you got to do is a couple things. Number one, find them, reach out on LinkedIn. 99% of the time, recruiters will accept just about anybody that reaches out to them in their space, because it's our database. When I went after the VP finance, the reason why I got all those people is I have a lot of association people and finance people. All those people are in my database. So I was able to search for them. So you want to reach out LinkedIn again, and they're all on LinkedIn. So they will typically accept your invitation. Number two, go to their website. We all typically put our searches on our website, right? So you might find something there that is appropriate for you, and it could be hidden, because again, a lot of us don't go into the job boards. We'll put it on our site, we'll reach out, we'll talk to colleagues, all the things, right? So that does that make sense, Sherry? You just got to flip it more toward they're working for the employer, and then do they happen to have a search? Now, with that said, once in a while, you will come across a recruiter who will sort of, if you will, shop you around. If you're somebody who they can typically place, they might actually share your resume with some of their clients to say, oh, look, this is the kind of person that I'm typically, I can typically place. Hey, existing clients, does she have the kind of background that would be interesting to you? Once in a while, that might actually happen. So it might feel like they're advocating for you, but really what it is they're just seeing, is there a market for your background? Is that helpful?
One of the other things that came to mind related to, again, finding opportunities is, Karen, I'm pretty sure there's a professional association of project management.
PMI. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Sherry, I'm sure and Sherry, you would know this, there's probably a marketing communications association somewhere in
The
DC.
AMA, the American Marketing Association.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly, put some effort into researching those organizations a little bit, going to a meeting. If you're already a member, then that's another source to tap for, networking purposes, for potential opportunities.
For sure. Yeah, we always recommend this, going after your association that is in your profession or your industry. And in particular, the local chapters. The local chapters are rich with wonderful connection opportunities, because people at a local level want to help each other. So for example, Sherry, I knew when you and I talked, we talked about NACE, the National Association of Independent Schools. I think we might have talked. I don't know whether they have a local chapter. I don't know but it's a community of people, right? Who are in the independent school sector. So you got to think about it when you're doing your search. I like to call it fish ponds. Okay. You're fishing in a certain kind of pond where your fish are swimming, not an ocean. It's a pond. It's the marketing pond. It's the project management pond. It's the independent school pond. It's the commercial real estate pond, whatever it is. Those people tend to hang out together. You go fish in that pond, show up to a chapter meeting. Maybe they have a LinkedIn group. Maybe they have a listserv. Maybe you know people who know people there, whatever it is, but literally ask people in your network, and when I say your network, I mean the people who do what you do. Do you belong to a professional association? Do you belong to a meetup group? Do you something like this, right? We're very generic here. Everybody's from different backgrounds, but there are a lot of meetup groups that are in particular fish ponds, people hanging out together. Karen, Jerry, right? Think about it. Go into Meetup and actually look for those kinds of groups. It really is about sharing knowledge. In fact, a few years ago, there was a little split off group off of this group of a few IT people. They just got themselves together and they squirreled off and they had their own little meetings, which was great, right? So they could help each other. So it really is about connecting with the people who are in your space.
Sure. Joy, you put a comment in, when you're looking for the unicorn, what percentage of requirement skills does the candidate usually need to meet?
Oh my goodness. I jokingly and not so jokingly say that you have to have 12 out of 10 skills. I'm just saying.
And it's not just skills. There's 3 different job descriptions in one job description. It's okay, that's the stuff I do.
Joy,
that's not stuff I've done. This is stuff I could do.
Right.
But am I going to meet enough of this?
Right.
That I'd be considered?
Question. It's a great question. And look, there's a nuance to it. We can't give you the specific answer. Here's what we can say. All right. And again, glad you're bringing this up. First of all, it does depend. Some of it does depend on whether the job is posted publicly or not. And the reason I say that is when it's posted publicly, they really are fishing for the unicorn. When it's not posted publicly, sometimes they're a little more creative. Well, like the search that when I'm doing that, I've just got this guy, Chris. I was a little more open. He was referred. I'm like, And then when I talked to him as a person, he was a fabulous person, like a fabulous person, candidate in terms of his persona and all of that, right? Beyond what was on paper. I say that to you, Joy, because if you are applying to a job online, and please know the official stat as of last year was only 3% of online applications result in a hire. This is why it's all going into cyberspace.
Networking is key these days, for sure.
This is why the networking is the thing, okay? Now, if the job is hidden from the market, it's not posted on a job board, and so it's a very kind of small pool of people they're looking at, they might be a little bit more flexible, meaning when they meet you, they might be more like, oh, I actually like Joy. I think she could really be a good fit. Maybe even beyond what your resume is because somebody referred you or, they're just a little bit more flexible. But with that said, if you're just going on the piece of paper, the job description, what I recommend is you go to the qualification section first, jump down to qualification section, look at the first 3 to 4 bullets, really read it. Really, 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 really read it, analyze it, and go, what are they actually looking for here? What kind of professional experience? What kind of industry experience? Those first few bullets are actually going to tell you more than anything else in that description, because it's going to be the thing that they're actually looking for. And by the way, these days, when people say such and such skill or such and such industry is preferred, it's not usually just, oh, it's a plus. It's what they're actually saying is we are going to give preferential treatment to people who have that skill set or have that industry. They're actually leaning into that in particular. And so it's not to say that you can't apply. It's a free country. However, if you do, and you're kind of in that 80% kind of qualifications, you also then need to make sure, we always talk about this, that your resume is customized. Now, thankfully, we have AI these days, and you can do customization with it, okay? But you've really got to tell it what to focus on. You can't just say, oh, just make it, change the resume. You got to say, make sure to frame it from this angle, from whatever. Joy, what is your profession?
Product marketing.
Product marketing. Okay. Right. So, you've got to make sure that it's framed from your particular, your angle. I don't know whether you go to market space or whatever it is, but whatever back with the qualifications say AI, shift my resume, focus it over here, make sure that it actually has that flavor. Because it's not as, it's intuitive, but it's not as intuitive as you think. You have to prompt it in the right way. And then the next thing that you do is you go back to the top of the description and then read it really thoroughly, analyze it. What are they actually asking me to do? Not what I want them to say not what I wanted to say I want to do. What are they actually asking for? I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was coaching somebody also in marketing. She's in the brand marketing space. And she had told me when we were coaching, she goes, Shira, I don't want to do media relations. And that's not my world. PR is not my world. I'm in the brand strategy kind of area. I'm like, okay, fine. So she, as a lot of my clients do, she sent me a job description one day and say, Shira, what do you think? Do you think I should apply for this? Me, with an objective lens, I read this thing and I saw like a chunk of the job, like 3 bullets, media relations. It was right. To me, it stood out. To her, it was literally, she didn't even see it. That's human nature. We have this phenomenon called selective perception. We see what we want to see and we don't see what we don't want to see. That's the brain. We do that all the time. And so you have to almost kind of force yourself to be objective and go, what is this actually saying? What is the job actually asking me to do? Where is it focused? What are the challenges they're trying to help me solve? And then read into the language. If they say words, very innocuous sounding words like, we want you to build this or grow this or develop this, guess what? That means they don't have it right now. It probably means they're a bit of a hot mess in those areas. And therefore you can say, oh, wow, I really want to grow this, build this, develop this. I've got those skills. Then your resume gets shaped there. Your cover letter gets shaped there. When you're in your interviewing, you lean into all of that. Does that make sense? You've got to analyze the description, not just quick, but really say, am I really a fit for this? Does this make sense?
Yeah. And I found it interesting. You said like to focus on the top four, because that was kind of my thought too. Is that usually they're going to put what they think is most important first.
Right at the
I have
top.
a friend. I have a friend who is web optimization strategy, and she's had challenge because a lot of the job postings she's replying to, like one of the last bullets is usually, oh, you have to know SQL. You have to not only be a web optimizer, but you have to be able to code as well. And she doesn't code. She can do all the other stuff, but she does not code. And she's gotten disqualified and been in interviews where that last bullet of you need to have technical coding skills gets her kicked out every time.
That
Even though it's at the bottom of the
world,
list.
yeah, the technical world is a little bit of a different animal. Okay. And that to that point, yeah, it could, that tech skills, regardless of what bullet it is, if they say it, they often mean it. No, not all the time. Sometimes they're actually flexible on certain things and you just don't know. If one person says SQL and then the other person says, well, they put SQL, but they don't really need it. She's not going to know until really she gets vetted. But it's important, guys, if you do see a piece of the description. And by the way, when I say the first 3 or 4, part of what I'm saying is don't focus on all those soft skill bullets. Oh, you need to be a team player, strategic thinker. That right. Soft skill stuff, that's not what they're vetting you on the resume. In the interview, they are, but not on the resume. So just kind of lop that off, okay, in terms of your vetting of the resume fit. But when it comes to a technical skill, and when I say technical, it could be techie, or it could be like a subject matter expertise kind of a skill, like an issue area, whatever it is. If you only have some of it and you apply and they actually decide to interview you, address it in the interview, specifically the first level interview. Overcome it. Say, look, I noticed in the job description you were looking for SQL or you were looking for blah, blah, blah skill. I am familiar with it. I've been exposed to it, or maybe I don't even have it. How important is that going to be in the search process? Is there going to be, will you allow for a learning curve? Do you really need to have somebody who's very expert at this, whatever? Love to know now so that you don't get to the end and they screen you out because, you know, it actually was more of a requirement. So again, it goes back to analyzing the job description, both for your resume fit and then also for the interview.
Thank you.
Vern, when you were back doing your HR stuff, was there anything you want to add in terms of how you were vetting people?
Well, I don't think I can add anything dramatic to what you said. I mean, obviously, you know, the first 3 or 4 bullet points are usually the most important. What I remember, you know, is going through, you know, 200 or 300 resumes at a time, and being flabbergasted by people that applied for the job. They had, you know, actually no experience or no qualifications for the job. But it's and literally, if you're sitting in the hiring seat, sometimes it comes down to the smallest little thing that you know, you got 2 or 3 great candidates.
Right.
You could almost flip a coin,
Right.
but you've only got one position.
Right.
And that's really a tough position to be in when you're when HR, because you know you like all 3 people and you know 2 of them you're gonna give, you know, not so great news to, but that's just the way the world, and it goes without saying that all of you are in probably one of the toughest job markets that Sheer and I can remember in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Because of everything that's gone on. Yeah. So
those nuances matter. And really, and these days I know there's still people who want to make a career pivot, you know, do something else. If you're weighing the career pivot versus earning income, if you're looking for them, if that's really the thing for you, then the more niche and narrow you can be, the better. The more you can actually say, I am the person who's been there, done that. That's what minimizes the employer's risk. So in Sherry's case, right, the comms job in the independent school is going to be an easier slide into home base than Sherry, if you're going to go to a generic nonprofit. Does that make sense? Because employers, they don't just think of themselves a nonprofit, or even us. They're very specific. Like, we are the environmental nonprofit in clean air. You know, like everybody's got their specialty, and they love it when a person actually comes exactly from their sector. So to the extent that you can make identical matches, that's the easier way for an employer to say, yep, you're less of a risk, and you have less of a learning curve.
Yeah, the other thing I would add, sitting in the HR seat, and we've already kind of talked about this, if someone got in touch with me and said, Vern, I know you're hiring for a product marketing manager. I know someone I think that'd be great for the role. I'm absolutely, if I know that person well and I trust them, I know they've got good judgment. I'm going to want to see that resume. I'm going to want to talk to that person more than likely, at least in the first, in a first interview situation.
Trusted
So,
referrals. So
yeah.
important.
So,
So important. Karen, did you have another follow-up?
Well, to the point of not knowing how to code or something on those lines, if it isn't that important for the job, but you spell out too early that you're not too qualified on it, does that disqualify you too
No.
early when you're good?
No, because you're being actually quite the opposite. You're being authentic. Now, I'm not saying you open with that statement, obviously, right? You have a conversation and show your qualifications otherwise. But it is actually good for you to be transparent and say, look, I noticed XYZ skill. Look, that is not something that's my area of expertise. Is that okay? In light of all the other things that I bring, are you okay with a little bit of a learning curve in there? And tell me, why I'd be using that skill, in what circumstances I'd be using that, and have a conversation.
Right.
And look, it's just as, Karen, it's as important for you as it is for them. The last thing any of you want is to walk into a role and not be set up for success. Because if really they wanted SQL and you really, really don't learn it, and you got to level up in 2 minutes, uh-oh, what did I do? That's not so good either, right? So you want to make sure that you are truth in advertising. If you really are qualified in general, great. Couple skills, not so much. Address it. It's fine.
Thank you.
But also be very strong about what you do know, obviously. Be positive about this, what you do bring to the table. Other questions?
Tim?
So I have a question. I applied for a job. It closed. I interviewed with the recruiter, and then she's come back to me unsolicited twice, giving me updates. There's been a delay in going to the hiring managers, and then the job shows up reposted on LinkedIn. Should I be nervous or not? There's it's one of these companies where the weather outside makes it realistic that there's a delay.
The web.
It's a utility company, so they need to make sure their customers are being served.
Yeah,
for sure.
So all hands on deck to solve the big problem.
Sure. Yeah, the delay part, that makes perfect sense. The opening it up back on LinkedIn. I mean, look, employers typically open the job back up when they haven't found the right candidate, when they have to expand out, usually. With that said, there could be more than one opening. That's also a possibility that you may not know about. So I can't say whether or not you should be nervous about it, but at the end of the day, if it's the right fit, it's the right fit, right? And you just keep doing what you do. And but also make sure that I'm going to just jump into another little area here. We don't often talk deeply about the interview process itself, although we probably should spend more time on it. You can make yourself a really, really standout interviewee when you really do some deep research on the organization, try to figure out the kind of business problems that they are trying to solve, and you ideate with them in the interview. Don't just be a good little candidate with your hands in your lap and saying, yes, I can do the job. It's also what kind of solutions am I bringing to the table? You almost want to think of yourself like an internal consultant. You are actually brainstorming with them about solutions and how you want to overcome challenges in the interview. You ask really strategic questions, the kind of questions you would ask on day one, first week, first month. when you're trying to get to know the organization and see what you can do, you ask those questions. Don't just say, I'm qualified. Demonstrate your qualifications by showing them how you would be on the job, how you think, that you're a critical thinker. And then you guys do brainstorming back and forth and like, oh my gosh, I really like how Tim thinks. Yeah, I could totally see him working here because he thinks like us and he's got great ideas, and you're being proactive, you're being curious, you're being thoughtful, all of those things that can really help you stand out from everyone else who's just putting their hands in their lap and asking the question and answering the questions. I like to call it play a game of tennis, not racquetball. Racquetball is they cue, you're the wall. They cue, you A. They cue, you A. Tennis is they cue, you A, you cue, they A. And you're like actually having a really interesting conversation where they're getting to understand how you think, not just what's on your resume. I think too many employers fall down on the job, if you will, in their interviews because they're just focused on the resume. What have you done? Where are you qualified? As opposed to who are you? How do you think? Here's what our situation is. What can you do for us? And frankly, that's how consultants get interviewed a lot. We're not often asked just, oh, tell us about all the clients you've worked with. The client will share their situation, and it's our job to engage with them and say, oh, wow, I think there's some creative ways we can help you, and And like we brainstorm with them. Then they're like, wow, I think you could be a great fit. Now, please put a proposal together. Okay. So you want to be the same way, be very thoughtful, be a critical thinker. And gosh, with AI now, you can do a whole lot of research you couldn't do before. Get in there, ask it some really interesting questions about this industry, about this company, anything that's been on the web, pull the information together, prepare yourself to be a strategic thought partner with them in the interview. Everybody can do that now, no matter what level you are.
No. Yeah, a personal example with that, the last job that I interviewed for was with the American Bankers Association, one of the major trade associations in DC. And I had learned that they were implementing for the very first time a leadership development program headed up by an HR was in charge of it. And if I took the role, I would inherit that program. So in the interview, I was asking about the leadership development program. Why was it created? What are you looking for to accomplish? And if I could, when they answered that, if there was something I could tell them about in terms of my background that I thought was going to be a positive thing to say related to how I would see that leadership program or where I think it would go, or here's some things that if you thought about this for the leadership development program, those things make you stand out as a candidate, to Shashira's point.
Yeah, this company doesn't have anybody who does what I do. So it would be standing that division up and forward looking, hiring more people to work in that. I can see my experience in the government actually transferring over because in the utility company, you have to ask the PUC for rate increases. In the government, you have to ask Congress for more money. So there is the constrained environment that is a similarity.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are making that government shift, that's actually those kinds of parallels are going to be really important to say, here I did this, and I believe this is transferable because, draw the parallel. It's a good point, Tim. Other questions, other thoughts, other challenges? Anything interesting you're noting in the market?
It seems like it's loosening up, at least for me.
Yeah.
Think so? That's good
It
news.
is for sure. While I was talking to you guys, I got a call from a recruiter. I'm like, and last year was hardly anybody calling me. All of a sudden it's like, wham.
Yeah. I think last year was a lot of wait and see. There was a lot of pullback, a lot of wait, what's going on? And now it's interesting. I was talking to Robert Brandow from Career Confidence this morning, if anyone, if you know him, and he has a group like this, and he says his numbers are down, meaning the job seekers numbers are down because people are getting jobs. So there are absolutely opportunities. I mean, in my own LinkedIn feed, I'm constantly seeing people, posting opportunities. With that said, look, you got to position yourself as somebody who is qualified and can add value for that role. So yes, you're going to probably be contacted by some recruiters, but at the end of the day, they still want you. So your job is to really make sure that you can meet their business needs. That's the goal. But yeah, there is more movement now for sure. Any topics that you'd like us to just generally talk about, even if you don't have a specific question?
Age.
Okay. We have lots to say about that. Is there a particular aspect of age you would like us to address?
I just think that a lot of companies just won't look at you. I've got white hair. So they're like, okay, how long is this guy going to be around? It's probably quite expensive. Although, put it this way, kids coming out of college today, an engineering career, making well over $130,000 a year or something. So I don't think that holds any water anymore. In certain aspects, as an engineer, but being passed over for the younger guys because they
So
have
look,
a bigger
on the one hand, that's a perpetual thing. I mean, when all of us were 25, right? People who were 65 were saying the same thing. So that's just a perpetual thing. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So
I
that's
understand
life. That's life, right? On the other hand, so look, it's also important that you understand that it's not the case for every recruiter. There are some people who are very open-minded, but also make sure that you're applying for the right level. Because if you are applying for jobs that are traditionally held by folks much earlier in their career, it's not necessarily about the gray hair at that point. It's about experience level. I call it the difference between age and career stage. If your career stage is that you are they use that term overqualified for a reason. If you are overqualified for that role, yeah, legit, the employer's gonna be like, they think you're gonna be bored. That's a risk for them. Okay.
Yes.
Truly. And so make sure that it's the right level. Again, I was talking to this person yesterday who was also pretty seasoned. And he said, oh, he's in the regulatory space. And he goes, yeah, you're sure. I know what you're going to say, but I found this job for a senior director. And he goes, I could do the job in my sleep. I'm like, you're never qualified. Like you've got to really look at the role. Be the recruiter. Forget the hair for a second. Be the recruiter. If I were the recruiter looking for somebody to do this job, on paper, would I look at me? Is it the right level of the role? That's the very first thing you need to understand. And then, when you come into the interview, they're looking for energy. They're looking for strategic thinking. They're looking for all of those wonderful soft skills. But you go in with confidence. There are a lot of people. I mean, I've placed people of a certain age many times, right? It's not just 35, right? It's, are you the right fit for that role?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but Mike's really trying to ask, should he color his hair to brown?
Well, Michael, you don't have no hair, so you don't have to color.
No, I'm lucky.
By the way, Cheryl, we know each other.
Yeah.
I know. I don't remember where that. We'll have to talk offline because you look familiar.
Yeah.
All right, Monica.
Well, I just had a question related to what you were talking about. As you know, I'm trying to move out of the international development world where there is just so many outstanding people looking for work. And so I'm trying to move into, the veteran services space, which is a near and dear to my heart. However, I'm not applying for, super senior roles because I'm changing sectors. I don't feel comfortable you know, I know that I have some things to learn. I come from a community that's highly classified, and I know that world as far as being the Sergeant Schultz type that literally know nothing. But I don't, from a skills standpoint, I know that I have something to learn. I have heart to offer, but I know that I'm not the senior person. And so, how does that work?
Okay, so I'm glad you're bringing this up, Monica, because I want to make a distinction. I haven't used this term yet in our conversation, but I often do, and I call it the difference between your lane and your community. I know, Monica, you've heard me say
Yeah.
that. Your lane is what you do, your community is who you do it for. Okay. When it comes to level of experience and that kind of fit, employers are looking for lane. What level of marketer are you? What level of lobbyist are you? What level of accountant are you? The skills. That is what they primarily look for. The community fit is a different thing. It's not, Monica, it's not like they're saying to themselves, oh, well, because she was in the international relations, she's only qualified for a low-level marketing job because she doesn't understand our veteran nonprofit world. It's two different things.
Yeah.
Look at the level of the job. Is the level of the job right for you, independent of your experience in the sector? Your experience in the sector is a different question. That has nothing to do with the lane. That's like, do they actually want somebody who comes from a veteran nonprofit? That's a different story. Okay. And so oftentimes they do. And so understand too, I say this to everybody here, especially for those of you who are mission driven, I'll say it that way, and you have a passion for a certain mission. On the one hand, the employer appreciates that. That's great. We want you to be passionate for a mission. However, often what's more important to them is that you have work experience in that mission, not that you just have a personal passion for it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what am I going to do though? I mean, I've been I've literally only done USAID work the last 10 years. I've done other federal work, like 20 years ago, but
what I say to people, especially from the international development world, because of course you guys are in a very unique position, is to find organizations, even if they're not international relations, because of course that whole sector has been disrupted. But two things. Number one, organizations that are within the same kind of realm. So when we say international relations, we could mean a million different things. It could be environmental and NGO international group. It could be health related. It could be about everything.
Yeah, but all the international NGOs are also laying people off because many of them were
I get
funded. Like Catholic Relief Services has let go half of their staff, and so
get
you
it.
can't go there.
It's tough. No, I'm not saying it's not tough. And I've realized we can only have so much of a conversation right here because this is public forum. In general, what I would say is this: for folks in the international relations space, number one, it's not about going after an international NGO because that world has been disrupted, but it is sometimes about looking at the sector that group was serving. Was it in healthcare? Was it in environment? Number one. Number two, sometimes there actually are companies and organizations overseas, not based here, based there, that could actually be very happy to hire somebody here remotely because the skill set is a direct match. I'm not saying it's a perfect fit, but there are creative ways to think about it without having to literally pivot into something completely different. But to say, if I were the employer, what kind of employer would I be that would actually look at the background that I have and find that there is something relevant? We can only go so far in this conversation, of course, because everybody's got a personal situation. But I guess more the general idea that I'm giving you is walk a mile in the employer's shoes. No. What kind of employer would I need to be to look at my background and say, there is a fit here? Even if the sector's been disrupted, be creative. Are there adjacent sectors around what I've done that actually could find me attractive? So that's the best that I can say it in a generic form right here. Obviously, personal conversations we can do. And by the way, for any of you who are interested, both Verna and I offer free 30-minute consultations if you guys are interested. I'll go ahead and put and Verna, if you want to put your information.
I put my email in the chat.
Great.
This is what Monica's referencing. This is another area where networking could be valuable. Monica, if you look at, what you've described is I'm trying to find a job in this particular area. And, I've got these skills, but they don't quite match up. Where do those skills, using your network, people that know you well and know your skills, reaching out and say, here's my core skills. Here are the things I'm really good at. I really want to work in this particular sector, but the job descriptions ask me to do things that I haven't done, and that's probably not going to work. What would people who know you really well, could they come up with maybe jobs, roles, maybe in a completely different arena that use your skills? Now, obviously, you've got to get comfortable that, okay, I'm going to make a shift from where I am to a whole different, sector, but it's a job where I have the skills and I think I can perform well.
Yeah,
But that's a
my
personal
situation is not that I don't have the skills. I do have the skills. The biggest, in most cases, the skill that I'm missing because I'm coming from the USAID world is media relations. The communications you do for USAID is more bottom up than top down. And in the field, the embassy handles the media, and in DC, it was the Office of Legislative and Public Affairs. So USAID contractors don't do media relations. And so I'm a little bit old to not have a Rolodex full of media contacts. And so that's not something that you can get training for. I mean, either you have the Rolodex or you don't.
Monica, I'll just say this and then we'll just have to shift.
Yeah.
So in the world of marketing, right, most of the jobs that are out there are more marketing, not PR. PR is more on where the media side is. The
Yeah.
marketing, there are plenty of jobs that are just marketing
Right.
or marcom, but not having a
Right.
media flavor,
Yeah, no, yeah, marketing is, yeah. So,
we can happy to have an offline chat with you.
yeah, but just my point is outside of media relations, I don't think I'm having a skill problem. I'm not applying for jobs that I don't have the skill for. So that's not the issue. But anyway, we can have that conversation offline.
All right. Anyone else before we wrap up? Other thoughts? Any wins? Anything you'd like to celebrate? A good interview that you had? Something positive that happened?
Yeah, I had an interview last Friday. My next round is Tuesday.
Great.
Okay. That's good. Yeah.
Keep going.
Good luck, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up now. And for those of you who'd like, once I finish the call here, or once we stop the recording, I will shift into a short prayer call for anybody who would like to stay on the line for that. Okay. All right, guys. Well, have a blessed day, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.